out there and policing is not the same way it was 10, 20, 30 years ago. Things are becoming more violent, more organized, and we have to stay one step ahead.
ERT is an extra level of force that can be brought in to solve a critical situation.
As everybody else is running away from the situation, we're normally the guys that are running to the situation.
Our teams are the last resort that a police force has.
Hey, honey, are you okay? It's the police.
On the outskirts of Ottawa, this peaceful road leads to the National Tactical Training Centre, where candidates are trained to be the future members of the RCMP's emergency response team. Sergeant Rod McLeod is the National Training Coordinator of ERT.
This is where we do pretty much 90% of all the ERT training for our teams across the country.
Police, put your hands in the air! Do it now! Exit the vehicle, put your hands in the air!
ERT is a highly trained tactical unit, trained to perform high-risk operations.
Well, the ERT program stands for Emergency Response Team, and a lot of different outfits around the world call them different things. Tactical teams, SWAT is probably the most common acronym that's used for ERT. It's basically a team of highly trained individuals that have specialized tactics, use specialized weapons, and work together as a team to resolve situations.
1972 Munich Olympics. Palestinian terrorists wreak havoc. 11 athletes are murdered while the German police are unable to assemble an effective response. The world is in shock. Canada is the site of the next Olympics in 1976. The very real fear of terrorism on Canadian soil was the genesis of the RCMP's emergency response team.
When the Olympics were coming to Canada in '76, the RCMP realized that there was a need for some special abilities. All police officers are very well trained, but there's situations that occur with violent perpetrators that take another skill set that's maybe above and beyond what the regular police officer may bring to the table.
At the National Tactical Training Centre, the learning curve is steep. Tactics, procedures, weapons drills.
Advance to contact!
Taking them from what they get taught as a police officer in depot, we take them from there into tactical shooting, shooting and moving, and then advanced skill sets with the firearms. We teach them to rescue hostages, deal with any situation they have to in interior combat, whether it's inside a building, inside a vehicle. If they have to think on their feet, there has to be teamwork, there has to be good, sound decision-making in there, discerning who is an adversary and who is someone we're in there to protect and rescue.
ERT is equipped with specialized weaponry and equipment. Each has its own purpose based on the scenario or threat. But the training is more than weapons. It's tactics and judgment. Learning when and when not to apply lethal force.
Today's session involves vehicle takedowns for high-risk vehicles or passengers. We try and teach them how to do a rolling vehicle stop, to select a site and take custody of the occupants of the vehicle with minimizing the risk to the public at large.
Your hands up! Turn around!
In critical situations, these future ERT members will be counted on to get the job done, no matter what.
Every ERT member across the country has the same training. We can take one of the teams in BC, put them in the Atlantic province with the team there, and it's the same tactics, the same equipment, the same standard operating procedures, and they can fit right in and they can get the job done.
Things are becoming more violent, more organized, and we have to stay one step ahead. So we're constantly reevaluating our training. We go international, we go across the country to other police departments to evaluate our own training and tactics to increase them and improve them as time goes on. The world out there in policing is not the same way it was 10, 20, 30 years ago.
Criminal activity is not restricted to land. The emergency response team is also called in when there are threats at sea. Land or water, if ERT gets the call, the situation is critical.
We need, as a national police force, to have a presence on the waters to deal with anything from criminal activity right up to terrorist activity, whether that be on the Great Lakes, on the West Coast, or on the East Coast. And the tactics that the members are going to learn out there will allow them to board anything and secure any threats that are going to be coming into our waters that we know of.
Victoria, British Columbia. Inside this downtown building, these elevators lead to a quiet basement. But behind this door is anything but quiet. This is where the ERT is doing marine security training. They're the on-water tactical unit for the RCMP, and they're gearing up for another day of intense training.
What we're doing here in Victoria is we're training our operational teams for deployments on the water, whether that be dock situations, houseboats. They could be dealing with large freighters, pretty much everything and anything that they could have a criminal, federal, or provincial mandate to deal with.
ERT's tactics have been refined and perfected over the past 30 years. It's an ongoing perfection. Their objective is to neutralize dangerous situations while preserving the lives of hostages and team members.
There's a couple of big components that go on in a marine environment. Number one, we've got to get on the ship. So that's kind of a whole separate part of it. And we've got ladders and systems for getting onto ships. It's difficult. You have the ladder tends to swing out underneath you. It's really easy to hang from almost a flexed arm hang. And if you do that, you're going to blow your arms up real quickly and you won't get up the ladder. So there's techniques that we're teaching them, keeping their legs underneath them, climbing with their legs, and getting onto the ship. And then once they're on the ship, we want the team to get to the bridge and take control of the bridge as quickly as possible.
They move as a team, covering 360 degrees. Unknown threats could be lurking anywhere, behind any door, and down any passageway. 2008, the Arabian Sea. The Canadian Navy intercepts a Pakistani drug-running vessel. They board the ship and take it by force, uncovering over $65 million worth of drugs. The same threats are now present in Canadian waters. Drugs, weapons, illegal immigrants, terrorists. These are just a few of the situations that ERT members prepare for. When they board a suspicious ship, their eyes are trained to see everything that moves. Everything. They carry weighted red plastic guns while training, but they treat these guns with respect. It's that respect that keeps people safe. Their intense scenarios include international cooperation, especially with the United States.
You guys probably did that in about 4 or 5 minutes. It's not bad. I mean, you have to do it in about 2 normally. First time, excellent. My role in the state is I am commander for our waterborne strike team, which is a regional anti-terrorism team on the water. It's from the state of Florida. And we train pretty much the same way the RCMP trains. That way we both keep on table with new ideas and new tactics. And it's a cooperative sharing effort.
It's not just the threats on the vessel that concern ERT. Hypothermia, shock, drowning, fear of heights, realities of working at sea.
Well, this is a jump from height station where we teach them how to jump off a dock or a ship, more specifically, cross their legs and then land safely in the water so they don't get injured.
Jumping from over 30 feet into icy cold water with 70 pounds of gear on, the impact could be crippling and potentially fatal.
The vest I'm wearing has 70 pounds of lead in it so that you sink quickly. The idea is you go in disoriented, it turns you upside down, and you have to free yourself from equipment. So it's a test to check for panic, for water phobia, claustrophobia, that sort of thing.
Over and over they practice, preparing themselves for the real thing. But the next scenario is a far greater test of courage.
Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to finish the training that the emergency response teams have taken, where they started in the pool, learned how to use the survival egress air, a small 1 cubic foot pony bottle of air. And what they're going to do today is we're going to simulate that they've capsized and they're in an overturned vessel. We're going to get 5 of you to go out the bow and then 5 of you to go out the stern, breathing on the SCA. Don't hold your breath, and we're going to do it with the hatches closed.
One by one, they climb into the overturned vessel. Cold, dark, upside down, totally disorienting. What you think is up could be down. There's only enough air for a few quick breaths. Seconds feel like hours. From a vessel that's been overturned to a vessel on the open seas, training shifts gears and the stakes get higher. This vessel simulates a drug or arms runner with any number of unknown threats on board. The drivers need to be focused on their target. 1 second of lapsed judgment could kill an ERT member.
When you see that there's people already on ship, like we have to make sure that it keeps rolling, okay? So you have to sling your MP5 in advance to be ready to jump to go in the vessel.
The assaulters have only seconds to board the ship. In a real-life scenario, this ship deck could be full of armed hostiles, waiting and ready to defend their cargo. ERT recall their training. Eyes scan, ears listen, feet move. The next task, board a much bigger ship with greater challenges, moving at a higher rate of speed. This scenario pushes the body to its limit.
Because they're going to have not just the ladder to contend with, but sea, waves. The rib is going to be against a ship. The rib's moving, maybe. The rib may break away and come back. There's all kinds of stuff that they can't control in that environment, so they really need to know the climbing system before they get out there.
It's a horrible feeling to all of a sudden be burning out. You got nothing left in your arms. You're looking down at potentially peeling off head first, upside down, backwards off the ship.
Falling into the ocean can be fatal. The ship's propellers could suck you in and kill you in 1/100th of a second.
It can be pretty scary.
Across the country, there are members of the emergency response team on standby. They deal with violent and dynamic scenarios that take place on land and at sea. This emergency response team is responsible for all high-risk calls in Manitoba, an area more than 650,000 square kilometers. Standoffs are a frequent call for this ERT group. As a security measure, this member's identity must be protected.
To show you the diverse nature and the geographic size of the province, we actually had a call where we had to fly from Winnipeg all the way north up to Granville Lake. Male subject, known violent individual, believed armed with firearms, had seriously assaulted his common-law wife, who was pregnant at the time. We had to charter a plane from Winnipeg, fly up to Leaf Rapids, Manitoba, and then from there take a helicopter in. So obviously going to a remote place like that, just basically carry what you can on your back.
Equipment can weigh over 100 pounds, but the threats weigh more heavily. To prepare ERT for high-risk situations, a large-scale provincial training scenario is taking place in northern Manitoba. It's so remote, only one road goes in and out. The team prepares to deploy. The drive is usually 3 hours, but a massive ice storm has crippled the main roads. Driving in this weather is extremely challenging. It takes 7 long hours before ERT arrives. They join the other agencies on site and help set up the command center. It's tiring work, but in a real-life crisis, there's no time to rest. It's not long before the scenario is presented to the team, and it hits close to home. A fellow RCMP member has been taken hostage. All standard police measures have been exhausted, and the situation is now critical. But before they can react, they must gather intelligence and analyze the situation.
We got to gear up right now, and we're going to be going as soon as we're all geared up, ready to go.
Send your police there, you block there, secure it here.
Okay.
And we can send rescue behind.
Okay.
And we'll have RCMP here containing this road.
Okay.
Hours pass. Tensions grow. ERT leaves base camp determined to rescue the hostage. They drive and hike for miles through the remote woods in freezing conditions. The mobile command post has been constantly updating and relaying the latest intelligence. Everyone is past fatigued, but they still remain focused. As night turns into day, the team arrives at the suspect's cabin. Undetected, they assess the situation. Meanwhile, the negotiators arrive on site. They deploy a robot equipped with communications. The goal is to establish contact with the hostage taker, defuse the situation, and prevent casualties.
We have a phone on the robot at the front door by the orange sled.
Call after call, negotiations fail.
Hello? Contact, he didn't hang up. Yeah, he just didn't want to talk anymore.
One option remains. ERT is going in. But after so many hours, it may be too late. For almost 24 hours, a hostage rescue scenario has been taking place in a remote area of northern Manitoba. While the escaped suspect is pursued by another unit, ERT have been quietly and patiently waiting to make their move. All attempts at negotiations have failed, and the crisis is now at its peak. The incident commander gives the go-ahead. ERT moves in quickly with explosives to gain entry. It's called an immediate action response. For ERT, this scenario has ended successfully. No one got hurt. And both suspects are now in custody. This is why they train.
That's not uncommon that an actual real call might run that long or even longer, but you carry on, get the job done. That's the bottom line, in conjunction with everybody, the negotiators, our other technical units, so forth, general duty members and what have you. So everybody works together as a team to come up with a resolution to the problem at hand.
ERT is the last resort for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Their grueling and intensive training is necessary. It makes for a stronger individual, a stronger team, and ultimately, a safer Canada. Teamwork means working with other organizations and sharing tactical skills. Knowledge builds knowledge.
They're a great bunch of guys, very professional, extremely professional, and it's a joy to work with them. And I bring a lot of stuff back to the States just from the cooperative effort, like I said before, and the professionalism that the RCMP has.
On a national level or even international level, we stand up on par or above.
I've met people and I've been teammates with people that I absolutely count on in regular life and in work life. And there's few people you can depend on like those guys. After you've gone through the situations you have with them, you know that they're always there for you. And you're able to, a lot of times, to resolve some pretty dicey situations, and it's very rewarding. I just hope that all my parts stay together long enough that I can keep doing it till the end of my career.